You know, I just can't get into this save. I want to play Football Manager, but I just don't know what to do. If only there was somebody that could help me. Hey, man. Heard you were having a little trouble with Football Manager. Just thought you might want to go outside, see the sun, walk around, not play Football Manager for just a little bit. Just an idea. Thought I'd drop in on this shoulder.
Hey, man.
Yeah.
You don't want to do that. We both know that. You want to play Football Manager. So hopefully Zealand makes a video soon, explaining how to keep Football Manager interesting if it starts to get boring, because even if you want to play Football Manager, the save's not always right there for you. So, yeah.
That was a weird dream. Good video idea, though. Let's do that. Hello, welcome back for a video about how to keep Football Manager interesting when you really just don't want to go outside. You want to keep playing Football Manager, but the save isn't doing it for you anymore. I feel like on stream, more and more people are telling me that that's a situation that they're in. I think it's probably where we're at in the FM20 cycle. We're just a couple months away from FM21, about 2 months away. And so you've been in maybe your save for a long time. You could be looking for something else to do, and you want to do it inside Football Manager because the sun is scary and bright. If you want to watch the streams, by the way, they're down. The link to the Twitch is down in the description. If you can't make it, we now have a live channel, it's a featured channel, so you've probably seen it if you hang out around here. As you've come to expect from me at this point, I have sat down and set up a list of 5 things that you can do to keep Football Manager interesting so that you can keep dedicating your life to this game, just as I have, while doing other things. I mean, you can multitask for sure. And we're just diving right in to the first step. And that is, you can actually create a new head coach in your old universe. So if you are tired of playing a game, like this is my Bate save, the save that I talk about all the time, the first major save I did on Twitch this year, winning the Champions League out of Belarus. Say after I win the Champions League, I go, you know what, folks, it's been a great career. That's actually not what it would look like. Hold on. You know what, it's been a great career, but it's time to spend more time with the family and the vodka. So I do that. I decide that, well, it's time. You can actually act that out in a save. You can retire. You go to home, my profile, and you retire. You can leave the game. That's it. Great career. Obviously, you can create a save point right before. Make sure you change the save file name so that your autosaves don't overwrite it. But create a save point before you retire, just in case you ever want to go back to it. But you create that save point, and then you go over to Football Manager, well, FM in the top right corner. You go down to Add New Head Coach, and you can completely enter the process of creating a new head coach. I've got a bunch of presets. Zealand Ouagadougou is my favorite. It's the capital of Burkina Faso. Don't ask. One of the things that gets talked about all the time, because when I finished this Bate save, we won the Champions League, I uploaded it on FM Base. I just Zealand's Bate save, I think, in the search bar on FM Base to find it, if you're interested. That's a bit presumptive of me. I'm very sorry. One of the things that a lot of people talked about doing is if you go into this save, well, maybe you want to try and unseat Bate. Maybe the big challenge for you is to come in to Belarus and start in the Belarusian second division with a new head coach and try and build your team all the way up to where you can actually win a league against the Bate superpowered team that I built in that save. Or in your save, whichever super powered team you've built, because typically if you get bored with a save, it's because you got too good or you can't get into a save because you keep losing, but we'll get to that later. Clearly you aren't watching enough Zealand videos. This guy. But seriously, it's a very interesting challenge, one I've considered doing myself. You take a different team in the same league, try and beat yourself. You can also start as a completely different team somewhere else. You can do whatever you want, but there's a main attraction to this is that you don't have to start over. There isn't as much of the feeling of starting over because you're starting in the same universe. You don't have to go through the, well, let's sign Jude Bellingham period at the beginning. Everybody sign Erling Haaland now period. You don't have to go through that anymore with the real players. You can continue to experience, maybe if you're already into the future, obviously, of a save enough where it's mostly regions, you can continue to experience that universe without having to relive the opening period. I've always said my first year of a save is my least favorite because I feel like nothing has happened to make the story unique yet. This allows you to keep the story going. It just happens in another place. Maybe start as your son or your daughter. It's the 21st century, people. Keep forgetting my table is very, very hard. I am in immense pain. Okay. With that in mind, it's time for idea number 2. And for that, we'll be changing locations to the beautiful shores of Colombia. Colombia has shore. Yeah, Colombia absolutely has a beach. Colombia beaches. Easy. For sure. The beautiful shores of Colombia. For idea number 2, which is start a new save on a different continent. Now look, I have nothing against Europe. Obviously, I almost always play in Europe. That's just where you want to be. The Champions League is a huge deal and everything else, but at a certain point, you have to figure out why you are bored. And there are only so many things you can do in Europe, some of which is going to be covered later in this video, before you've kind of had every experience in one way or another. I mean, not the specifics of the experience, but you know, the broad strokes of the experience. You've had all of that you could have. And this is for you. My second save this year is with Llaneros in Colombia, and it's been absolutely fantastic. I had never managed in South America before, and the rules make no sense. The league is in 2 phases. There's playoffs and a 3-year relegation table, and I know you don't know what like most of that means, but it is the type of experience that gets you excited to go out and do things again, where if you just start as another good team in a bad league in Europe and go try and win the Champions League again and run into the exact same problems, it won't be as exciting for you. Football Manager gives you options. Even in the base game, you have South Africa. You do have China. You do have South Korea. You do have Indonesia, Malaysia, Hong Kong, the leagues that are way out of the way. You've got Australia, which has a bunch of funky rules that might interest you as well. And then you have Mexico and the United States if you want to go over to North America and get jiggy with it. The main attraction here is you're going to be able to participate in a lot of different competitions that you might not have even known existed. You get to participate in a different footballing culture, and the rules, with very few exceptions, are almost always incredibly complicated. For the league, for registration, weird rules in a completely different world. It gets you out of your comfort zone. If you play in Germany every time because there's no registration rules at all, you're just really not challenging yourself, and that may be why you know you want to keep playing Football Manager. This is really what's going to get you going. Become the king of Asia, Genghis Khan. All right, time for number 3. In this one, you're actually not managing a club. Can you guess which one? Yeah, it's probably pretty easy to guess which one I'm talking about. International management is my third option. I wouldn't recommend this if you have the legendary toaster level processing laptops that I talk to people that have every once in a while, and I wouldn't recommend doing it on a phone or a tablet or something like that. But if you have a decent laptop, if you have a good desktop, then an international save is actually very feasible. Now, obviously, it's a bit more of a slow burn. You do need to load a lot of leagues so that there's a healthy international database, because I didn't think about that the first time I started an international save. I loaded no leagues and was like, aha, this is perfect. And then there were no players in the game. Managing international in Football Manager just presents you kind of like managing in a different continent with a bunch of new competitions you didn't know about. You got the Olympics that you're dealing with. You have your World Cup qualifying, you have your continental qualifying, you have your continental trophies, you have your, obviously, the World Cup. When you take over a national team, you're dealing with a national pool, you're dealing with giving players call-ups, you don't have to worry as much about staff and finances and those sorts of things, but the pressure is huge. You feel the gravity. I've done international saves with Curacao, I've done international save with Paraguay, I've done international save with New Zealand. Gasp. And maybe just to spice up your save, you can manage an international team and a club team at the same time. So you can add international management to your manager, or you can create a new manager in that save and make them international and so on and so forth. We're going back to Bate. We are actually going back to Bate for number 4 because number 4 is something I've titled Start at the Other End of the Spectrum. Remember earlier when I said, and there are only so many things you can do in Europe, some of which is going to be covered later in this video. Well, it's starting at the other end of the spectrum. So if you started as Chelsea, start as Carmarthen Town. Chelsea is a big team in a big league. And there are a lot of challenges that go along with that. I'm not knocking you for starting as Chelsea. Take the next save, do a semi-pro team. Whole different set of challenges in a different league, in the same country, but not though, but kind of. Wales! If you know, you know. But there are a lot of spectrums here. One is what we just talked about. If you're a big club, you start as a small club. If you start as a small club, like Carmarthen Town, small club in a small league, start as a relegation challenged club in Serie A, in Portugal, in Ligue. Start as a challenge team in the top flight of a major league. And it'll present you with a completely different set of challenges than trying to take over the Welsh League presented you. But we're not even close to done on the spectrums. If you started as a good team in a bad league, do the same thing. So if you're Bate Borisov from Belarus, start as a bad team in a good league, a good nation. And I don't mean like a bad team, you know, in relegation. You can do whatever you want. But start as a team in the Vanarama North-South in England, a team with a long climb, a nation with a big ladder that Belarus doesn't have. And if you started in a nation with a big ladder where continental competition is something only for the big boys, and you're in Serie C and you're trying to make your way out, you had a terrible time, but eventually you did it. You climbed all the way to the top. You're good. Or maybe you just flamed out and got fired. And you want to start a new save, well, try Dynamo Zagreb, try Bate, try Ludogorets in Bulgaria, try Legia Warsaw in Poland, try a good team in a bad league so that you're getting tastes of continental competition. That's another end of the spectrum. Or if you just keep playing in leagues that have the easiest registration for your nation, try Russia. Everybody ignores Russia, probably rightfully so. They're like the America of Europe. But their league is fascinating. The registration is savage compared to most European countries, and that makes it very difficult to succeed. When in doubt, I need something new. Russia's a pretty good answer until you run into like a bear or something. I really don't know what they do there. I know what they do there. No. Enough of you. And now for our 5th and final recommendation, which is to turn up the difficulty settings on Football Manager. I bet you didn't know that these existed, but if you go to Football Manager and go to the drop down, you've been playing on balanced difficulty if you didn't know these existed for a long time. You go to Preferences, then you go to General, and then you realize that I'm joking and there are no difficulty settings on Football Manager. There aren't, and I honestly like it that way. I always hate difficulty settings. I never knew exactly where to put them. Should I be challenging myself? Should I be enjoying life? A little bit of both. But actually, the last recommendation is get a database. So I'm just going to open up the Steam store, go to the Community tab. So Community tab, and then the Workshop. And in the Workshop, we have League and Data Updates. 8,000 League and Data Updates. Adult movie stars and staff. I wonder what staff roles. You find something like US Extended Pyramid. There are some amazing challenges that aren't in Football Manager in the base game that people actually sit down and just make. They turn the United States and the whole weird MLS thing, they just like ball it up and throw it out. MLS out that way. Then they build a pyramid that looks exactly like England with all the US clubs, and you can then go manage in it. And you go be in Uzbekistan, maybe try and get the Uzbek national team good enough that it can make a World Cup, as it tends to do if you send the game forward long enough anyways. But I think you get the idea. There's a bunch of creative people out there, and you want to make sure that they've been tested a few times. I wouldn't just recommend, snatching a random one. For example, there's a lot of respected people in the community that'll make a US Extended Pyramid every year, and you can download that stuff, and with some really light tutorial reading, you know how to get it into the game. You just subscribe, and then there's a little arrow. Hold on. I will show you the world. So when you start a career, there's a little drop down arrow right here, and when you subscribe to a database, it's just in there. and you click it and go to advanced setup and add the leagues that you want, and you're ready to roll just like every other game. The world is your oyster when it comes to this one. Maybe you didn't know this existed and you want to start making databases yourself. That is something I cannot make a video about. But search up a database and find the challenge that you love. It's a good number 5, but it's almost a cop-out. I don't know what you love. The first 4 didn't do it for you. So go find it on the internet. It's probably there if you didn't know. But that is it. I hope you continue to enjoy Football Manager. I hope you're able to pick it up for free. It's free for like one more day on the Epic Games Store. The September 24th is when it ends, and then it gets not free anymore. Football Manager is now on Epic Games or Steam, so pick your poison, but if you get it on Epic Games, it's free if you're watching this video now. All right, I'll see you on stream.